Joey, this meeting is being
Hi
recorded.
all, just touching base and giving you an update on where we're at with all things happening with COVID. It's changing daily. I'm with Matt Morley today, our sales director, and we're going to give you a bit of an update of where we're up to with landlords and tenants today. So Matt, you had a couple of questions that had come through and some changes that have been made to the legislation regarding tenancies that we were going to go over this afternoon.
Yes, Joe, thanks for that. Welcome, everybody. The first thing that I'd like to know about, Joe, is that moratorium, the 60-day freeze on eviction. Can you tell me a bit about that? Yeah,
definitely. So as we heard, there is a 60-day moratorium in place. It commenced on the 14th of July and it goes to the 11th of September. Now, what it means is that any tenant that is impacted by COVID cannot be evicted during that period. So it's opposed to what we had last year, where sort of there was miscommunication around what tenants were responsible for and what they weren't. This year, it's quite clear that an impacted tenant has to have, household income has to have been reduced by more than 25% to be an impacted tenant. So if they're an impacted tenant, then they can't be evicted during that 60-day period, as long as they continue to pay 25% of their rent. So what that means is that if you've got a unit and they're paying $400 a week, they prove that they're impacted and the household income's reduced by more than 25%. As long as they pay $100 a week, then they can't be evicted.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. That's pretty clear. What about the next point about eligible COVID-19 impacted tenants?
Yeah, so the tenants, again, this year they've been given a clear guide as to what they need to provide. So I guess an eligible tenant, an impacted tenant as such, their household income has to have reduced by more than 25%. And that's after any government grants that they receive. Whether it be JobKeeper, JobSeeker, there's other disaster sort of payments in place at the moment. So if it's reduced by more than 25%, then they're eligible as, well, they're an impacted tenant as such.
Okay. And then what about landlord financial supports? Is there anything for landlords?
Yeah, so again, if a landlord has an impacted tenant who's been affected, then the government will provide each property or each tenancy with a $1,500 credit. So what that means is that the landlord can comfortably reduce the tenant's rent by $1,500 for a period of time and claim that back off the government. So again, that's something different that we didn't have last year that we have got in place this year. So what that means, if the tenant is and obviously there's guidelines with this, is that the tenant has to prove they've been impacted. So they need to supply documentation, which the government is outlining what documentation they need to provide. Then once we can see that there have been an impacted tenant, the landlord can then claim from the through New South Wales Fair Trading a $1,500 rebate, or sorry, it's a maximum of $1,500. So, but they need to show that they're prepared to reduce the tenant's rent by that amount. So,
so if they reduce the rent like for 10 weeks, $100 a week, so it makes it $1,000, do they still get $1,500?
No, they only get $1,000. So yeah, so
okay,
so
it's 15 max, or
they get to a maximum of $1,500. So that's right. They can do that. They could reduce it for 15 weeks by $100. They can give them, a couple of weeks free rent, whatever that may be.
Sorry, mate,
we lost you there for a bit.
my phone just rang. I thought it was on Do Not Disturb, but it's
no, that's all right. So yeah, they can reduce it over a period of 15 weeks, $100 a week. They can do, a couple of weeks rent free, whatever it is, to a maximum of $1,500.
That's great. Well, that's good that the landlords have got a little bit of a package there, because last time they didn't. What would a tenant do?
Sorry, that can be taken as cash, or it can be a credit against their land tax if they pay land tax.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, that's excellent. And what should tenants do if they are financially impacted? Is there a process?
Yeah, definitely. So as we did last year, they will provide them a link to supply documentation and show. And basically, what the government is saying is if they show, the weeks leading up to the 14th of July, their pay slips or their income, and then show, their pay slips for the weeks after the 14th of July, if it's gone down by 25%, that is proof that that has happened. As well, any government rebates they're receiving, they then supply that to us. We put something in writing with the approval of our landlords, and then we can make a claim on the landlord's behalf through New South Wales Fair Trading. So that's the other thing, they're allowing agents to do that. So through the managing agent. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of people trying to take advantage of this. So we were in a webinar this morning. Fair Trading have said that they expect the website to be up and running by the end of July, and payments could potentially come through within about 4 weeks' time. So there is a bit of a setup process to it, but it will be reasonably quick. Just depends on how many people claim. So the website should be set up by the end of July, and then they're hoping to start making payments straight away. But a 4-week period is more, I think, more an acceptable sort of time frame that they're looking at.
Have you had many impacted tenants at this stage? Or
well, we only had a couple, up till last week, but this week, obviously, with construction being put on hold, that's a massive one. And look, it's changing daily. Up until yesterday, we weren't even able to get cleaners into properties when tenants were vacating because cleaners weren't allowed, and
now they are
last night, and now allows cleaners only if it's an emergency sort of situation or an essential. And I think getting a property ready for a new tenant to move in is classified essential. Has to be hygiene for the new person moving in. So only today the cleaners are back doing that. We're still having a few issues with regards to photography and staging places because that's really not classified essential. But again, we're just working through that at the moment. How are you guys going with the sales? Are you?
Yeah, sales is we're still able to operate. We're able to do the private viewings one-on-one, which is good. It just means we can't get the volume of people through. So we're qualifying the people and making sure that they do have a compelling reason to buy and that they are actively looking. And then we're showing them one-on-one. So it means instead of getting 20 groups through a half an hour open for inspection, we're spending 2 or 3 hours on the one property and getting probably 7 or 8 people through, which makes it a lot more time consuming, but we're dealing with quality buyers that can buy. We're still making sales. The market's still good. The conversion rate's still great. We're still booking in auctions. Now we can't do them on site, but we can do them via Zoom, but we are finding buyers are liking to make offers prior at the moment because some have been a little bit uncomfortable with the Zoom style auctions. But overall, sales is going well.
Yeah. And I think
we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
We're very
and the same with
fortunate
us with the rentals I think over the last 2 weeks, we've leased about 12 properties and much the same. Saturday, I think I showed 5 properties and I was at it from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just showing, 27 lots of groups through at, 5-10 minute intervals. So, people that have to move are still out and about. So, and I guess, that's the essential part of it where we're providing housing for people. If they've got to be out of where they're living, they need to be able to move. So I guess that's why, in essence, we're able to continue to operate. In saying that, we're taking all precautions like you're masked up there, the office. We've only got the team that needs to be here. Our property managers are working from home. So, it's sort of, we're just making do with what we need to, and hopefully we can get back and running by the end of next week. The only point I should make, and I've had a couple of queries over the last few days with regards to notice periods. So last year the legislation changed and the notice periods were stretched out to 90 days for for all situations. At this stage, that hasn't changed. So, if you want to sell the premises and you've sold the premises and the tenant needs to vacate, it's still 30 days. Coming up to the end of the lease agreement, it's still 30 days. Yeah, if the lease has ended and you want your tenant to vacate, it's 90 days. If the tenant's damaging the property or whatever it may be, it's still 14 days. So the notice periods haven't changed at this stage. So that's the one thing that was sort of, even though there is a moratorium in place, the moratorium is only in place around COVID impacted tenants and rent arrears. So none of the other things that generally we work with have been affected at this stage. So,
Oh, that's good to know. So is there anything else lastly, and then we'll let you get on with it? Is there anything else that landlords?
No, look, as far as our landlords, I know it's changing daily, and I think this is our second or third video we've done in a matter of a couple of days, only because it is quite fluid. The situation is changing. The health order changed last night. So and it changed twice yesterday actually. So last night it came through at about 6 o'clock at night, where we were allowed to get cleaners and whatnot through. So I find this is the easiest way to let everyone know where we're up to. And as always, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out. Our details will be at the end of this video, or ring the office. Our office is still manned at the moment, but only for emergencies and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh, that's great, Joe. As usual, you've got lots of great information for people, and also in the sales, if anyone needs to reach out, we're always happy to help. But just pointing out, we can only act for people that have a compelling reason. Otherwise, we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. I hope everyone stays safe and
stay safe. Enjoy the homeschooling, and look, hopefully we'll be back.
Our thoughts are out there for those people that can't work. Our thoughts are out there for them.
Definitely.
It's a very tough time. So,
and we are honoured to be able to come to work, and I know there's a lot of people that can't. So, as far as doing what we're required to do by the health order, we're very serious around that, and we make sure that our team complies as well. So,
absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Joe. All the best, and we'll speak to you soon.
No, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, everyone.
Soon. Ta.